Hi everyone, welcome to Currency Podcast episode 93. I am playing Fall Guys for this one. It's a video game, at least for the video stream, so that's what you'll hear for over the sound, is you'll hear sounds of this video game, Fall Guys. And in case you tune into the video stream, pretty much the rules of this game are, it's an elimination. They start with 60 people who are playing live, and then they eliminate it down to one. You have to be the last person left, and then you win. It's an elimination type of game, but it's like, to qualify for each new round, you have to pass some obstacle course that's like a race or something, or you just have to get more points than everybody else. And so if you tune into the video stream, what you'll see is me playing this game rather than my face. I figure that I already logged like 90 hours of just my face, so this might actually be more entertaining than that. In fact, that's a guarantee. This will be more entertaining than just watching my face, which I already have 90 hours logged. And so we're good on that. Thank God I got those 90 hours of my face in. That's the goal. Until you've recorded 90 hours of just your face, I don't know that you've really accomplished anything in life. That's what I've always heard. But I've been watching Shark Tank recently, and I've watched it in the past. Granted, I have watched it before. And, oh yes, I qualify. I started in the second round of this one, and now so I'm in the top. There's only 27 left out of 60, because I made it past the first two rounds. And I've been watching Shark Tank, and I think about what it would be like if I was talking about my podcast to the people on Shark Tank, and they would probably just tell me that I was a con man, because, at least Barbara would. Barbara would not like me, but I'm just talking about, like, if I were to pitch this podcast, at the point that I am trying to describe this podcast to be a business of mine, which, like, that's ultimately what I'm trying to do. When you think about it, whether you believe that that's what I'm trying to do or not, I do aim for this to be a business of some kind. It's just that I actually don't monetize the podcast. That's just because where I host it. So I'm letting you know some behind the scenes about what I think about when I view this, my own podcast. And it's really behind the scenes, and it's so behind the scenes that, like, shockingly behind the scenes. It's too far behind the scenes. Like, I don't monetize this podcast, and it's like the people on Shark Tank, the sharks, you can really learn a lot from them. I learn a lot from Barbara and the other sharks the more that I watch them. But it's kind of like the sharks in Shark Tank are getting at this important thing that you need to have when you start a business, which is, like, the point at which it actually turns into money. That's kind of this whole new level that it's hard for people to achieve. And so they turn away a lot of businesses that kind of infringe on being a con. But it's kind of like, one thing that I would like to think about while I'm talking today is the extent to which things are a con. I tend to think that sort of everything is. It's just that some of them last longer than others. Like, Apple isn't a con, but there will be one day when the business closes down. And that will be the point at which the rest of the world is like, this isn't valuable anymore for the time that we're living in, or, like, at the point that Apple is no longer relevant is kind of the point at which it's like, it's like Kmart goes out of business, and it's sort of like it's revealed to be a con at this moment in time, where it was like a viable business before, when retailers were more relevant. But it's like as retailer as a format goes out of business, that kind of reveals like a Kmart or a Sears to be, it makes it so that they're just faking it in reality in comparison to what you actually have to do in order for your business to survive. But like Kmart is just kind of a facade of a business at this point. Like it's almost like it's not even real, because the world changed around it so much that the world doesn't allow for retailers to be relevant. But what I'm telling you today is just something that I'm telling you. I mean, this is just a podcast episode where I'm showing you myself playing the video games, and we're down to, I mean, the video games more. I was able to pretty mindlessly get through that last one without dying. This one might take a bit more effort, but I'm saying how like the sharks on Shark Tank want it, like they are so all about money, but like money is kind of this whole new level that is important for you to be able to get to if you're somebody who has a business, obviously. But so I have a podcast where I'm talking about currency, but of course I wasn't paying enough attention, and that one required more attention, and so I got eliminated. What a tragedy. I really wanted to win, but I'll just start a new game. I'll start a new elimination game here. And so it's like what the sharks and Shark Tank are talking about. I feel like it's, you can parallel it in the comedy world, where there's this level in comedy where it's different if you're actually making people laugh. And I do stand-up comedy. Sometimes people are laughing. Sometimes people are laughing. Like sometimes I kill. Like a couple times I kill, and people will laugh at my routine, and it's funny for them. And so I started doing comedy, and it's something that I really like to talk about to other people, because it's something that I'm actually doing, that I'm doing for real. And when people are actually laughing, that's even more real. But there's kind of like this debate that's happening in the comedy world, where it's like you have the Joe Rogan types of people, where their style of comedy is, for most of his career, his style of comedy is more introspective, or like that's what makes it more popular. Like Joe Rogan's stand-up isn't that funny, really, most of the time that I've seen it. It's not like laugh out loud hilarious, but that's because he's just kind of like talking about things that he finds interesting. But there's a lot of comedians would argue that comedy doesn't matter if nobody's laughing, because the only thing that matters is like the level at which it is funny, because funny is the only thing that matters. And I feel like it works that way with your business. Like money is this different level where it's a lot more cruel, or maybe you have to get your hands dirty in order to do it. It's the same with comedy. Like in order to get laughs, you have to compromise on what it is exactly you want to say. Like you kind of have to get your hands dirty sometimes when it's actually about making somebody laugh. It's kind of like that, but pretty much the sharks and Shark Tank, they turn away a lot of people that are, here we go, this is the most important part of it. Oh, and I still didn't qualify. I really hate that round. I got eliminated in the first round like a bozo on that last one. But it's like, it really, in the comedy world, the laughs do matter, because that's the point at which you're like monetizing something, or that you might be able to monetize something. Or it's like somebody who's in the room who's scouting out comedy to bring to their venue, or like you might get an opportunity to do another venue. If you get laughs at the venue that you're doing, you'll get more opportunities for that, because laughs is a little bit like money. At the point that there are laughs, then that's like having likes or numbers. Like laughs are an evident picture that your numbers are going up, but you can only monetize it once there are actual laughs, or like people will invite you to more things. You could make a career out of it when that is the case. But it's also, you could also say that it's not necessarily that you always need to make people laugh, because maybe the market is going in a direction where you can just be somebody who says something. Because there's people that make speeches that don't make people laugh and they can monetize that. Like Jordan Peterson, for example, is like a comedian but he doesn't do it with laughs. And he's able to monetize that pretty well. So it's like, you wouldn't have to get laughs to monetize it. But more significant about what I'm telling you today is a problem that I realize that I'm having in my life with this podcast, at the point that I try to describe it as being a business, because the thing I'm doing isn't a con. It's just a con, sort of the point, like I try to describe it as a business, or if I was like pitching it to the members of Shark Tank, they would be like, this is a little bit phony because there's not enough like proprietary about it or something. Even though they would be confused about that because the entire thing is proprietary. The episodes I make are the product. Like it's not really a con, it's just that here is where it is a con. Let me let you know. The point at which it is a con is where it's called currency, but I don't make any money off of it. But so it's really like I'm telling you I have the authority over currency, but I don't make any money. And so for that reason, what I'm doing is a con, and it's like the kind of cons that you see on Shark Tank, where when they ask them like, what sales have you actually made? And they're like, well, we're still in debt, or we're not yet profitable. Or like if sharks ask enough questions, they find out that the person in front of them doesn't have a real path to profitability. And that's what I realize I have with this podcast, is that like I do get listens and like I do have the right motivation, but like there's this different level when it's actual, like you're trying to get money, and that's a level that I have a hard time approaching or saying that I deserve to get to. And like that's an issue that I see as like a flaw about myself, which is the flaw of for some reason I don't think that I deserve to monetize this podcast the way I see other people monetize it. I'm like, it's okay to give this away for free or something, and that's just an issue I have, where I think that it's like I think that I already accomplished something, or like money wouldn't say anything about me accomplishing more. Like for some reason I'm thinking that that's not important, because all that's important is like the message. And but like if you look at Shark Tank, that Shark Tank really brings things into reality about the world, or it's like it's talking about how it's difficult to take this extra step of actually entering into the world as something more real with your business. Like that's what's really difficult to get to, is like the point at which you're actually making money off of something that you created, because you can create something. Holy shit, I'm fucking this up. Let me focus on this. Focus on this here. I really need a comeback. Speed circuit isn't hard. Here, I'll take a break from talking so I can try to win this here. Alrighty. Like the thing I'm doing isn't a con, because I'm not lying about any of it. It's just that like, since I'm not doing anything to monetize it, there is something inconsistent about my message. But it's like a problem I'm realizing I'm having, which I wasn't like thinking about completely before, where I feel like I don't have to monetize it, but it's like I'm not ambitious enough. But I thought that I was. I thought that it was ambitious enough just to make a bunch of episodes and prove that I could do that and prove that I could make a podcast. But like, if I'm really being honest, which before recently, like this is something I'm realizing in real time. Like if I'm being honest, I didn't realize that I have this problem in the name of ambition, where it's like, I just figured if I make enough episodes, people will figure it out eventually, and that like I am trying as hard as I can. But the problem is that I'm actually not working hard enough, and it's really like that point, that next level at which things might start to become profitable is a level at which you're fucked that up. Is a level at which you're like actually working hard enough to make that happen. And I need to focus on this game here for a minute so that I can win. But it is a matter of like trying to win at something actually. But I felt like I am doing what I can to win, but if I'm being honest with myself, I'm not doing everything in my power to win, because I'm not even trying to monetize the podcast, but the podcast is called Currency, and so that should be the first podcast you try to monetize, right? But it's like, because I'm not making money off of it, you would grant me the right to say that this is a con of some kind, or like I'm not taking it seriously enough, and it's really kind of like everyone who is a comedian is a con man, and it has to do with being a comedian has to do with being common a little bit. And because it's kind of like when you go up on a stage, the point is that anybody in the room, especially at an open mic or like in comedy, anybody could start doing comedy and go up on the stage, but it's like, it's kind of a joke that anybody has the right to be on that platform because any single person would. But when you go up on the stage, you're trying to convince everybody in the room that you have the authority to do that. But it's kind of silly, because anybody would have the authority to just walk up to the place where you're doing the performance. But the people who are good at comedy are like good at being a con man. They're good at convincing everybody that they have the authority to walk up there and talk, even though everybody has the ability to talk, or everybody can perform. But what's kind of weird is that the point at which you're making money is the point at which you're working on something, but more significant than that is it's the point at which you're being real about something, or like you're performing or something. Okay, so this one's really hard and I need to focus on it. I'm probably not gonna pass this one. This one's like impossible. This one's fucking hard. Oh my god. Oh wow. Oh wow. Why am I not moving anywhere? Here we go. Here we go. Come on now. We just gotta take it slow. Just gotta take it slow. Oh my god. How is that much in my way? Impossible. Sweet lord. There's no way I qualify. This is taking the top 9. I'm almost there. There's no way. Oh, I'm gonna be 10th. Just what I fucking wanted. Thanks for only taking the top 9 on the most impossible competition you have to offer. There's nothing I could do. And another thing that I would like to mention is that my propensity to complain, because during the course of this podcast, I'm complaining too much, I would say. But some of it is I'm trying to figure out a problem that I have, and I think now I'm maybe putting the pieces together. The problem is that my ambition is stunted enough that I don't feel that I deserve to monetize this, or I don't feel like I'm at the same level as other people to try to make this that I'm doing real. It isn't fake, the things that I'm saying, but like, so I figured, here's what I decided, and here's the theme of this podcast, in case you didn't know, which you wouldn't because I haven't laid it out. But that's like, I also am having a hard time finding a mission statement about what I'm doing here. And it's like, if you watch Shark Tank, I was watching Shark Tank season 3, which aired in 2012, and there's a lot of, it's weird because they get a lot of people in there that make the pitches that have a company that is titled after money or something. Like there was this guy that I saw him pitch a company he made called Salespreneur. And that's one of the worst titles for a company possible, but it was just one guy, and he was pitching a company he made, which is like books he created for how to become a really good salesman. And basically this one guy went into the Shark Tank to make a sales pitch about that he's a really good salesman enough that the methods he's come up with are like sellable. Like he came up with these methods that he's selling to like universities or something, but he's basically just some sort of self-help guru in the name of sales. And his company is called Salespreneur, but he put himself in the position of like he has to enter into the Shark Tank and convince the sharks that he's the greatest salesman or something, which is like an impossible position to be in. And I think of that in relationship to me making this podcast, which is that like I am in some senses trying to convince you that I have the authority over money itself. Like that's the problem you run into if you title your project something that broad. And so like that's difficult, or you work yourself into a hole if you do that. But it's pretty much like, then there's this other pitch on Shark Tank where this guy had a fragrance that he was selling, but it was the fragrance of money, and that was his entire product, was like a perfume he was selling that was scented after money, and it was called like Money. And he was like, I have his money and her money for if you're a guy or a girl, different perfume. And they also turned that one down. But it's like, as I'm watching it, I realize like the person who has a company named Salespreneur is obviously just fucking with you, or it's like that's the person that you would not give money to, or say like his business is closer to being a con. It's like all the people that have a company that sounds like money, that's like obviously a con. And what I'm explaining to you is that I have decided what this podcast is about, which is that at the point that I finally monetize it, then that is the point at which I end this podcast, because then, sure, I'm focusing on this game. So the point I finally monetize this, which I do have from what I understand, it is easy enough to make at least $1 off of the podcast with the new platform that I switched my podcast to recently, because I do want to make money. Like I'm making these changes now because I realize there's a problem. And part of the problem is my podcast is hosted on SoundCloud, and they don't, whatever way that they're trying to get me to monetize this, I don't really understand it. And so I went to a platform that helps me monetize it more easily, and as best I can tell, it'll be easy enough to make at least $1 off this podcast at some point. But at the point that I finally monetize this podcast is when I can end it, because pretty much during the course of this podcast I am processing a relationship that I have to money. And this is like a problem I have where I am under the spell of money, but where I'm saying like my ambition is stunted, I'm talking about particularly in the area of making money off of something that I create. Like I do make money in real life, and I work for the federal government, and you know, they give me monies and I'm doing just fine. Like I can make money, but really what I've come to realize, like I'm sort of having a crisis in my life where I realize that a lot of the things I've surrounded myself with are maybe not necessarily of my choosings, and a lot of that has to do with living the first 25 years of it as a Christian, and Christians don't encourage you to do anything on your own, because they encourage you to stay penned within the reality of Christ, where Christ is the individual who accomplished anything that you'd need to from an individual perspective. And so literally worshiping Christ devoutly, I would say is something that stunts your ambition in the area of you creating anything on your own, or being an artist. And part of what goes along with that is emphasizing God to be the creator of all, so that he's the creator, you are not. It kind of comes with the territory of the Christian religion to stamp out your value as an individual, because you're always not going to be as good as Christ, who is the individual who accomplished more as an individual than you could ever possibly accomplish. So it's like, as long as you're deciding to worship that, and especially if you're doing it devoutly, you're not going to see the need, and you're not going to have the ambition to create anything on your own, or find a way to profitability from something that you create. And I feel like that has contributed to this problem that I'm describing to you, is maybe my relationship to Christianity. But it's really more like, during the course of this podcast, you see how that's the case if you listen to it, which is that I am complaining about a lot of things. I'm getting bent out of shape. Like there's a lot of negativity. Like I'm complaining about my dog and about Christians, really, and that's because I'm blaming Christians, which I just did just a moment ago. Is like, I'm blaming Christians for this problem I have, is ultimately sort of what I'm doing through the course of this podcast. I'm blaming Christians for this relationship to money that I have, where I don't feel like I deserve to monetize, or I don't see myself to be the same as other people ultimately. And it's like a relationship I have to reality, because and so what I realized, like what I've been realizing, is that, and like I already know it's true that you have to blame yourself, or like I only have myself to blame for when the numbers for the podcast aren't what I want them to be, like, and that I'm not making money off of it, or it's like I don't feel like I'm real enough. I realize now that I only have myself to blame for that, and like I really should stop wasting time blaming it on my Christian background. And okay, I need to focus for this one. I have a chance to win here. Can't blow this one. Can't pull a Rory McIlroy here. Blow this chance of winning I got. Now we're going to go back here. We're going to keep bouncing out here right now. We're going to go through this one. Boom. We're going to get up on this platform. No, we're not. So we're not going to get up on the platform. We're going to keep bouncing here. And we're going to go for this triple hoop. Here we go. Here it is. And I fucking blew it. Fuck yeah. Feels great. But I only have myself to blame. And that feels great. But okay then. Okay. Bounce, bounce, come on now, bounce, come on now, do it. Oh, thanks, dude. Thanks for running into me and fucking up my whole scheme. Wow, there's only 17 million people over here. I love that. I'm losing my mind. Oh, yes, I tripled up. That will help me out. But, like, I do like to win, but I felt like I'm being really competitive. Oh, fucked that up miserably. Fucked that up very miserably. I was well on my way to succeeding, and then I fucked it up with my impatience. Here we go. Qualified. Yes, I qualified. But I'm talking about, like, I recently realized that I have myself to blame for things I'm not trying to do, but it's like, and so I moved my podcast over to Anchor Podcasts, and they make it easier to monetize. And at the point that I make $1 off this podcast is the point at which it ends, because then I will be on my way, or something like that. But at least I have to make $1 before I end it, so that I can prove to myself I'm on a path to profitability, or because that's the direction I need to head into. But it's kind of like money has this like money is a whole other level because of the difficulty it takes to be real. It's kind of like, and some of that has to do with rule following, or like at the point that you're working anywhere, it's because you're conforming yourself to a set of guidelines. Like, I used to have this job where I worked for the playgrounds of Racine, Wisconsin, Racine County, where I lived, and we would run. Let me see. Oh, is this the final? This is the final. I really have to focus on this. I'll explain it later. God, I want to win so bad. Oh yes, we're just gonna keep going forward here. Oh, that's not it. That's not the one. Oh, of course. Let's be wrong about everything. Yes. Here we go. Here we go. This is the final, and I can't flub. Oh, wow. That ended so quickly. Wow, that was a shocking end. Pretty much, if you're watching the video stream, you had to go through the maze, and then at the end of the maze, there's a crown that you grab. Apparently, one of the players got way ahead of everybody else. Every time I make it to the finals, I have not... Like, the finals games are more difficult, and so I really haven't come that close to winning. I really thought I had a shot at it there, but, whatever, 31... so I used to work at the playgrounds in Racine, and we would run these games for kids that would come and sign up for the program, the playgrounds program, and they would, we would play like kickball type games with them for like 3 or 4 hours, a couple times a day. Some kids would sign up for the morning sessions, some would sign up for the evening, but I'm just telling you a job I used to have. But it's kind of like, even though that job was mostly playing games, I still had to align myself with like the rules of the programs set up by the city of Racine Parks and Recreation set up this program. But it's like, at the point it's a program, it is a game that has rules, and they set it up a certain way. They create this standard wherein it's this specific program that people participate in, and you can make money off of it. Or somebody can, like I could as an employee, at the point that it's a program, or the point that it's a standard. But it's like, at the point that a game or a set of rules is introduced, then you have people working or performing. Whereas if there is no standard, if it's just like free time or nothingness, then you can't monetize that. So it's like, I go to my job with the playgrounds, and in some senses, I am aligning myself, I'm conforming myself to the image they want me to be as a playground leader. In order to not be fired and have that job and make money, I have to follow the rules of this program. And it works that way with any job, but like, at the point I'm not doing the job, I just go back home, then it's free time. You can't monetize free time because it's just... there aren't standards with that. But it's like, it's only any time somebody's working when you make money off of it. There has to be standards, or like there has to be work, but it's kind of like you have to do the work to be real. It kind of involves a process of being more real, or like making yourself do something in reality. But like, anytime somebody is becoming more real, then people just start like, people almost fell off there. Then people just start giving you money. At the point that you're performing is kind of what I'm saying. Like, you have to, it's kind of weird how when you're actually performing, when you're actually being real, then people will start giving you money. And like, that's the, oh, for fuck's sake. When has it ever been the case these drawbridges don't close all the way? I've never seen that. But it's like, when you're performing to something, which is kind of like conforming to something, when people are performing, then it's more likely that somebody's going to throw money at them. But it's only if you're performing something real that you're really going to make money off of it. And that's what they try to sort out in Shark Tank, is the people that are actually real. but it's like, it's only if you have the authority, but you only have the authority to do something if you're doing it very realistically, or if you've done a lot in reality, in the real world. If you spend a lot of time doing something, that's the only point at which you're real enough in that area that somebody might pay you for it. But it's like, it's only if you spend a lot of time doing it that you have the authority. And so I'm often processing different themes about authority, but I was making a podcast before this called Identity, and really it was like I was processing my relationship to identity, and that I didn't feel as though I had one in some senses. And I'm now doing the same thing with currency, which is that I feel like I don't even have a relationship to money, because I don't have any path to profitability to make money off of things I create on my own. I can make money off of like the federal government for working for them, for performing for them. Like I can be real in that. I can be real in order to do that, or like I'm willing to give that up. But it's really only the point at which you're being real in any one area that anybody's going to pay you for what you're doing. I'm paying attention to this right now. I'm stressed out because I want to succeed at this game here, and this is hard. Get up on the thing. Wow. Really? That didn't do it, huh? Oh my god, this is hard. Why did they have to give me this one? Okay, let me just chill out here and focus on what I'm doing. Let it take a couple bounces. We'll dive, jump, get up here. Hooray. I'm probably screwed. I've got to be screwed. There's no way I'm gonna make it. There's no way. This is the second round for this. Everybody's way too good at this shit. Oh, thanks for fucking me up, idiot. Oh, good. I love it. I love that these things move. This wasn't hard enough already. I'm gonna fuck this up. Great, and I lost. Fuck yeah, I got eliminated. Just what you aim to do when you play this game. There's such high demand for getting eliminated. So I'll start a new game, but like, what I realize now as I make this podcast, so like I'm spending time complaining, like trying to pass the blame off to somebody else about this relationship to money I have, where I'm always under the thumb of it, because I have not yet proven an ability to monetize something that I've created. So in some senses that like makes me a fraud, and this is what I'm trying to overcome, I realize. And my last name is Connor, and that is, I mean, it's maybe like a coincidence or something, but like what I'm doing isn't a con, because I'm presenting to you original theories that I feel like over time will appreciate in value, because of their originality. Like I do offer something that other people don't offer, but I'm saying that what I realize is a relationship I have to currency where I need to actually make it real. But like it's like stand-up comedians, a lot of them are, the people who are the best at it are just like good at being a con man. Like they're just saying words, but then they're able to monetize being a comedian off of that. They've convinced people that they have the authority to do that. But like, so I find that I am the only person to blame for this problem that I'm having, and I guess I lost my train of thought, but Oh, good. They gave me the exact same one that I failed on last time. That's impossible. Here, I'm gonna focus on this one, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it this time. This one's gonna really happen now, for real, for me. Oh, really? How did I miss that? I guess there's a simple explanation. I go up here, bounce, great. You know, it's kind of easier if I take it from that angle, actually. Here we're going faster this time around. Really, I missed, huh? But like, oh God, it's hard to focus on this, and good thing I dove when I was already on a path to succeeding. I fucked up, and I'm not gonna qualify again. Oh good, I'm gonna be one behind. Terrific. I'm glad that they gave me this one twice. This is like one of the worst ones I'm the worst at, but the thing is that how, like, then if you stop doing your job, you stop performing, like when you're not under some set of guidelines, then you're not maintaining any sort of authority about anything. And so it's kind of weird how people will stop paying you when you're not at that level, but it's like the level of money is kind of more cutthroat, or maybe it's something you have to get your hands dirty to do. It's this difficult area where you're having to make something happen in reality, and what I realize is that there's levels to reality the same way there's levels to like an imagination, but levels to, or in other words, there's levels to objectivity in addition to there being levels to subjectivity. And the levels of subjectivity are like imagined. They're imagined levels, or they kind of happen in a fake space, and that's mostly what I've been exploring. But in so far in making these podcasts is kind of like levels of an imagined space. But what I didn't really consider until recently is how there's levels to reality, and they kind of all involve authority, or like actually having authority, and you have to be able to do both successfully in order to actually be successful. But it's the levels of objectivity, the levels of reality that are the ones that you have to encounter on your way to gaining profitability. The path to profitability happens in levels of like reality, but levels of reality is different from levels of an imagined space, because it's like it's kind of like all the people that are really successful that you see, all the biggest podcasters, or even the sharks in Shark Tank. Like, those are the people that are the most real, or have followed the most rules, or have spent the most time working. Like, it involves working hard, and I really don't work hard enough. Like, I work so little enough that I haven't even like overcome what it takes to set up my podcast to monetize it. Like the work to do that even turns me off, or I think like that's too challenging. But it's like, what I realize is that it's this flaw that I'm having, that and it helps me to be able to recognize it and realize it, the flaw of like, I'm actually not ambitious enough to see myself as profitable or something. And I thought that I was ambitious just by creating a podcast, and to some extent I am, but it's like there's this whole other level. There's a whole other level for money, but the people who are the most real are they're spending so much time working that like you automatically become real. It is what's interesting about it, is like, if you are working, then you will start to make money. But it's like, I don't work hard enough, I'm not spending enough time working, and so it's like it doesn't automatically translate to money, or the money aspect of it then will be difficult for me because I am complacent or I'm not working hard enough. But it's just that if you are working, you're automatically becoming real, is what I'm saying, because anytime you're working, you're performing to some set of standards. You're becoming real in that game that you're performing to, or that you're specializing in. And it's like all the sharks in Shark Tank, they are actually real, and so they've given their lives over to the path of profitability, or getting into deeper and deeper levels of realness. And it's kind of weird how there are levels of realness, because I guess I've been thinking about it as that realness is just, like I say sometimes, it's just like the top layer, maybe, is the way I've been viewing it. But it's like, or it's like an appearance, but really there's levels to that appearance, is what I'm thinking about. And they're kind of like the levels of how much money you make. Oh, really? That just happened? That just happened when this thing is just supposed to automatically launch me? Oh, I'm in danger of not qualifying, and then I qualify. Yes. And the levels of realness are like, whatever level of realness you achieve is how much money you're going to make. Like if you're a billionaire, you're very, very real, as opposed to that you're fake. But like, I'm trying to work out what is the difference between real and fake, and real is just kind of what happens objectively. But it's really like the sharks in Shark Tank, they work the hardest, or like Mr. Wonderful started a software company that he sold for millions and millions of dollars, but it's like software that he coded because it's proprietary to him. Like you have to work really hard to both create something original and proprietary, and then make that thing successful. You actually have to spend a lot of time making yourself real in that area. It's really like, but even like David Letterman, that's a life of work, or it's like that's complete dedication to the character, or the persona. He spent so much time making himself real in the area of comedy that it's like, that's his reward, is that he gets the Late Show, or he gets one of the top 2 best spots for a comedian to get, like the Tonight Show or the Late Show, is what I'm arguing, are like 2 of the best spots to get at the time that they were popular. Or Jimmy Fallon too, is like somebody who works really hard, or spends a lot of his time following rules in a specific area, and like following some set of rules is really the only thing that's going to make you money. But it's like, those are levels of reality, are the levels at which you actually are making money, or you're proving that you do have something real to offer. And so I realized that I need to do more in that area. Get up, idiot! Oh, okay, thanks for making me stall out for no reason. Great. Great, and another one of these situations. Oh, of course. That's what you hear like the entire time I'm playing video games, just like, oh, of course, great. Oh, yeah, I bet that just happened. Just nothing but sarcasm and denial. I deny my own, it's not my fault, you know. And it's weird how there's levels to reality, or it's like levels to the way that things look. But you look at somebody really successful like Barbara in the Shark Tank, and she's just like, those people are so, billionaires are so far at the real end of the spectrum, because they've had to endure, they had to graduate to so many higher levels of reality, or of like working hard, that they're at such a real end of the spectrum, and they really don't have any time for anybody that appears like a con person, or somebody who does not look like they have the ability to be profitable, because like profitability is kind of the turning point, is sort of what I'm saying. It's the point at which things become real, because it's only when you're doing something real, like posing along with the poses necessary to be like a playground leader, if that's the job. It's only the hours of which you're spending time like acting something out that somebody will ever pay you for. But it's just kind of like the point at which something's happening in reality is the only point at which you'll get paid for it. Because if it's not that, then it's just like it's free time and there aren't any rules for that game. But what's weird is wow, I've never seen this course before. And I didn't even look at, I think it's just a race. Oh, good, I landed right on the thing, and now I'm in a very bad position. Oh, good, and then I fucked up again. Terrific, I love it. All right, love that. Now I'm all the way right back at the start, because I'm like the only person who fell off of that. Can I just give up? I'm done, I already lost. It would take a miracle at this point. But what's kind of strange is that things are sort of changing in the world. Like we're sort of figuring out intelligently some things about the relationship between working and playing, which are supposed to be at odds with each other, but now with video games, there's lots of people that are monetizing their Twitch streams or live streams on TikTok, and like I would do a live stream on TikTok, it's just that you need 1,000 followers to do that. At the point like I can get 1,000 followers, but that's another thing that like I realize that probably the most surefire path to success in 2022, or the quickest way to get success as an entertainer, is to work on your TikTok. And so, but I don't spend time doing that because I'm like, oh, that's too complicated, or I'm just kind of lying to myself about like, obviously I know the things it takes to be successful, I'm just not doing them because like I'm not ambitious enough because of problems that I have that I need to work out, and like maybe I should go to therapy or figure out why I have these issues. Like it's not some menial thing that like I have this problem where I spend so much time doing this project of mine and I don't try to monetize it. Like I should really, but it's just kind of feelings of separation I have from the rest of the world, where it's like it's maybe like entitlement, where I feel like I've accomplished something, or like if like you already have feelings of separation, then you're gonna have problems connecting with other people. It's like I need to work on connecting with people more, and that also has to do with monetizing yourself, because it's only at the point that you are bringing your product to people, like that you're personable and relatable enough to bring it to everybody, that it will be more successful. Like the more connected you are, is kind of the more that you are the more connected you are is the more that you're compromising and like making it so that you're part of the same games other people are in. Like you have to play the game of sociability with other people. You have to play other people's games in order to connect with them. Like you have to follow some sort of standard, and you have to compromise on who you are. And you do that in order to have more integrity, have more morality, really. It's really like at the point you're connecting with people, you have more integrity and morality, rather than that you're a degenerate, or like rather than that you're disintegrated from other people on your own. Like things become more moral when you connect with other people, or like more loving or something. And what's weird is that the world now where you can monetize video game playing is kind of like working is becoming playing games more and more so, especially since all of these new games are being created, and any game that's created somebody can monetize Twitch streams off of. Like we can monetize any game, or in other words any world, any different code of conduct that's been created. We can monetize all of them, but it's just becoming easier and easier to monetize a world in which you're just playing something rather than working. But it's just it's just an evolution of culture across the entire world where I'm probably going to not qualify this one. I'm not really focusing very much on it. It's an evolution in the world where we're blurring the lines between working and playing, which are kind of supposed to be opposites, but we're just kind of like making the connection how they're similar. And so there's this evolution of work where it's becoming more like play that's been happening as a result of, I qualify, it's as a result of advances in technology and making everything more digital makes it so that like work doesn't have to be this physical thing anymore. We no longer have to gain authority. I mean, at least not as much. We don't have to gain authority being real or like doing something really physical out in the world or conforming yourself to the image of a businessman in the corporate world. You can be a CEO of your own, like everybody is kind of becoming their own brand, like through social media. And so everybody's kind of their own CEO and you don't have to conform to the image of what the corporate world wants you to look like in order to move up that ladder. Like everybody's can graduate to new levels of success just on their own, just by monetizing their own personality or just by playing a video game and talking about literally nothing. Like you don't even have to be anything special anymore. Like you don't even have to commit to an area of specialty anymore. Like it's becoming less and less the case that there needs to be this clear-cut authority in order for you to be successful, especially, I mean, primarily in the world of video games. But it's like, it depends on the extent to which you think the world of video games is taking over the entire world. And I guess I believe that is sort of happening, is like that's a major evolution of the world economy, is that it's becoming less about work and becoming more about play because of the influence that gaming is having on the entire world economy. And I feel like it is possible that the economy kind of gets subsumed by gaming. And so, like, what does that say about the need for authority? It says that it is deteriorating, but that's not to say that you do still have to work pretty hard no matter what. Like, even if you have your own platform for, like, if you're just Twitch streaming and you're trying to get a bunch of followers that way, you actually still have to work really hard in order to get your name out there. You do still have to commit a lot of time to that code of conduct and that set of rules, and you do have to make yourself real. It's just that, like, now people are becoming real just by sitting in their own house rather than that you have to prove something out in reality. But if you're like Barbara, a real estate mogul, she comes from a time where she had to prove everything out in the world, like go to meetings, go to physical locations where she appears as a professional or as a businesswoman. But it's kind of like the world of professionalism is deteriorating. Like professions are really taking a hit in the world that we live in. And so I'm going to start one more game and I'm going to focus on it so I can try to win. So like professionalism is kind of taking a big hit as everybody, like even just with people working from home more, you don't have to appear as the character that you need to appear as for your company out in public or anything. Like public is becoming more private, and so because of that, professionalism as a whole is taking a hit. Everybody's just like working inside, or they're broadcasting themselves from their rooms or whatever. And so professionalism kind of always implies like wearing suits or looking the part out in the world, and you really like it becomes something other than professionalism at the point that professionalism now takes place in your home. And so like professionalism is taking a hit, and it's just kind of like a blurring of the lines between real and fake, when the only place you have to prove it's becoming more the case you just have to prove yourself real from for sitting in your house, but it's just more convenient to do that. But it's tough to say what is the end result of that, or what direction does that take us. It's kind of like how everybody in the world it's kind of like how at some point we poke holes in the authority of celebrities in Hollywood, or like we realize you don't have to be a Hollywood celebrity to be a celebrity, or like we see something about their authority, and then in the last like 5 to 10 years especially, we see that there isn't necessarily as much to the authority of being a news anchor as we used to think, or of being a news agency, that they don't exactly have the authority that they're claiming that they have. And so we see news agencies to be more of a con. Like at the point that something is deteriorating, then we bring it back into the world of like, okay, now we're describing that as a con, but it's like it existed as completely real for a long time. And so whether or not something is real just is based on if it's current, if it's currently lasting or relevant, or it has something to say in the world that's happening right now. That's as long as we say that it's real. But it's like there will come a point where that thing isn't relevant, and then it's like it'll be more of a con. And that's what's been happening to like CNN and MSNBC in recent years, is they're having difficulties. Oh, of course that happened to me. But it is my fault for not timing it differently, just like that one's my fault too. Do I really have what it takes? Do I really want it? Of course I just jumped off yet again without just completely not even thinking about what I was looking at. But I do qualify in the nick of time. And so, like, what I'm saying is that, what if it gets to the point where we poke holes in the authority of people who have lots of money, that got that way by being professionals, by dedicating themselves to the craft for years and years. Like, if it becomes the case that you don't need to be a professional in reality as much, then it's like, what I'm saying is, I wonder if it ever gets to the point where we look at the group of people that have all the money, and we realize that, like, oh, they don't necessarily have anything to say. They just are very good in the realm of being successful. The same way that we look at politicians, and we're like, oh, do they really have the authority, or like, are they really accomplishing anything in Congress? Like, are these people just con men that are manipulating us to vote for them? Do they do anything? So we're questioning their authority. It's like, I wonder if it gets to the point where we question the authority of the people who have made lots of money, that realm, as opposed to the political realm, for like the same reasons, or we realize like, oh, they're just people too. It's not like they necessarily have so much to say about the entire human experience. Like, does it get to that point? Or is money so transcendent that it'll never be like that? Like, I wonder how long we respect people just for having money. Does that last forever? Or is it something like a realm of authority that we can poke holes in eventually? Like, it would probably take a really long time, but we see that it's like professionalism is deteriorating, but probably not like the game of making money. That probably will last for a really long time, and probably it will, because it is more real and more authentic than other realms across the earth. That have authorities that we can look at and evaluate. But there was one other thing I wanted to say, as I'm going to end this podcast in a second, which is that I'm going to keep making this podcast and close it out so that it's a product, and then sort of reads like an audiobook. I mean, like, this is something I'm doing that is proprietary, because I'm in the process of making it a property, and also a closed interval, like one that doesn't keep going forever, so that it ends up like a book, the way that a book is finite and has a beginning and an ending. And so, oh shoot, this one's really hard. But I'll go until this game is done, I guess, because I'm still in this one. But I'm probably going to lose here, because this one's impossible. But let me try. Nope. Oh, of course, it's gone. Great. Oh, great, that one's gone too. We go back here and just jump into this once it makes itself available. Man, this game sucks. This one really sucks. So seeing as that I'm about to be eliminated, I'm yet to win at this game. I haven't been the last one yet, but like, I do seek to sort out my problems and you know, whatever it is that I've said so far. I forget what the last thing I was trying to say was, but this is an agonizing slow defeat here. Let me keep trying. I just really feel like giving up when it comes to this one. Of course, there it goes. I try to get to a hoop and then they're gone. Yes, I got one hoop. It's not completely futile, but it pretty much is. Oh, wow. No! Why did I press that button? Oh my god. Failure at so many levels in this one. Wow, I just jumped through it, and I guess you have to jump through it in the right direction. I literally just jumped through it, and it didn't... Hate this shit. This is impossible. Oh good, it's gone right at the moment I figured it out. This is so dumb. Well, I'm glad that you got to see this. Oh, I keep pressing the wrong button. Literally, I don't know the buttons. Oh, good. Alright, that was very agonizing end to that, but I want to kill myself for how that went down, but thanks for listening. I will, whatever it is, I'll make more episodes in the future. Probably keep playing Fall Guys. See ya.